Coming up, I'm going to show you how to make a Kydex sheath for the Condor bushglider, so stick around. Hi, I'm the OCD Hunter, bringing you tips, tricks, DIY hacks, and other useful ways that my OCD can help make your life a little bit more simpler. A couple weeks ago, I did a video on how to make a DIY Kydex press. If you want to see that video, you know the drill. Look on the screen or check in the description. But today I finally got a chance to try it out to see if it really works. So today I'm going to try to make a Kydex sheath for my bushglider by Condor. I've been testing out the Condor bushglider for a review video, and one thing I can tell you is the sheath that comes with the knife is not worth using unless you're going to just throw the knife into your pack. I'll go over this in more detail in my review, but today I've decided to try to make my first Kydex sheath for this knife. The first thing I did was clean the blade real well, and then cover both sides of the blade with painter's tape. This will protect the knife and give a little extra space in between the Kydex and the blade. I used a razor blade to cut the painter's tape around the blade and up to the handle. Next, I pulled out a piece of Kydex that was 0.8 of an inch thick that I purchased on Amazon. If you want to purchase your own or any other items used in this video, see the link in the description. I laid the knife on the Kydex and used a ruler to get an idea of how much I would need to make the sheath. I figured about 1.5 inches on either side of the blade would work. I used a square tool to measure out 4 inches and then placed the ruler along the square so my cut would be at 90 degrees. I used a razor blade to score the Kydex, then snapped the Kydex along the score line. I did a dry run to make sure that the Kydex was big enough, and then turned my toaster oven to 325 and placed the Kydex into the oven. I don't have a gun that takes the temperature, so I had to do the time by watching the Kydex. I found that 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes is the time that was needed. As the Kydex heats up, you'll see that the Kydex will start to curl, then slowly lay down. It is when it lays down that it is warm enough, and I removed it. I removed one piece of Kydex and placed it on the foam, shiny side up, and then placed the knife on it. Then removed the other piece of Kydex and put the shiny side down on top of the knife. I placed the foam on the knife and closed the press lid and used wood clamps to clamp it down real good. I let it cool for about 15 minutes, then removed the clamps and opened the press. I pulled out the knife and the Kydex, and success! The Kydex press worked. It was formed to the knife. I used a protractor to mark a consistent distance from the blade and then marked where to drill the holes, about 1 inch apart. I used a 1/4 inch drill bit in my drill press and drilled holes in the Kydex at the marks. I then cleaned the burrs off the holes with a razor blade. Then I placed eyelets through the holes. Some of the eyelets were tight, so I used a piece of wood to seat the eyelets all the way through. I then used my arbor press with my 1/4 inch die to press the eyelets securely against the Kydex. After the eyelets were secure, I checked the retention of the sheath. I drew a basic shape for the sheath with a pencil and then used my bandsaw to cut out the rough shape. I then used my sander to remove any rough edges and used a polishing wheel to finish off the ends. I removed the painter's tape, and then, since it's a high carbon steel, I used my fix and wax to treat the blade. If you want to see my video on my fix and wax and how I put it in an applicator like a chapstick bottle, check the link in the description or on the screen. Next, I started on the belt loop by cutting out a strip of 8-ounce veg tan leather that was 8 inches by 3 inches. I double checked the size was okay and then rounded the corners and beveled the edges. I cased the leather by wetting it and folded the leather. I marked the holes and used a hole punch and a mallet to punch out the holes. I refolded the leather to mark the holes on the other side of the leather and punched out those holes as well. I used my arbor press and pressed my maker's mark into the leather. Then I used one of my background stamp tools to put a texture on the entire leather. I then dyed the leather dark brown and then burnished all the edges, finally buffing out the dye. After the dye dried, I added leather balm with atom wax and sealed the leather. I placed eyelets through the folded leather and used a die tool and a mallet to secure the eyelets against the leather. I then used Chicago screws to attach the leather belt loop to the Kydex sheath for right-handed carry. And like that, my first Kydex sheath was completed. I'm the OCD Hunter, and I hope that my continual painstaking practice of changing, fixing, and improving on ideas will help you out in your endeavors. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click that bell next to the subscribe button to get notified of new videos. Comments are always welcome.